and welcome to the Google Display Network video. Today we'll be talking about all the targeting options available to you on the display network and how to get it all set up. So what is the display network? Well, it's the name given to the millions of websites that have agreed to let Google show adverts on their pages. So it is the same network that we use for remarketing. It differs from the search network so that users don't have to actively be searching for your product or service. They can be on certain websites and your banner can appear. So as long as you use the targeting options correctly, you can still get in front of your ideal audience. Also, because of the sheer number of websites on the display network and the advertising inventory available to us, our adverts could be shown lots more times per day than they would be on the search network alone. So to set up a display network campaign, we simply click on the plus campaign button, and rather than going to search network only, we go to display network only. You then select the relevant targeting options. So you may want to target certain countries or towns or cities, or maybe just a radius around where you're based. You then want to put in your daily budget and save and continue. This then takes you through to the next page where you name your ad group and select your targeting options. And for the display network there are quite a few. So first of all, you can request that your ads are only shown on websites that contain your specified keywords. These are matched by broad match. So this means that if those keywords are used on websites on the display network, your ads can be shown on them. So it means that for us, for instance, we might want to show our ads on websites that talk about Adwords training or online Adwords training courses, making this targeting option really powerful. You can also specify placements, which means you can request the actual websites that your ads appear on. Now these websites do need to have opted into Google's display network, but if they are opted into Google's display network, then you can choose for your ads to appear on those sites specifically. You can also target by topic. This is where Google have categorized certain topics, and you can choose to run your ads just on websites within these topic categories. There is of course also remarketing that runs on the display network. We've covered this more in another video, but I would suggest that you keep your remarketing in a separate campaign altogether, simply because your remarketing audience is likely to be more responsive. So it means that you can better allocate budget and make optimizations when it's within its own campaign. On the display network, you're also able to create similar to lists. So this is where Google matches characteristics of an audience on your remarketing list to those who aren't, and effectively creates an audience for you. There's also affinity audiences, and these are audiences that Google believes have an interest in your product or service based on data that they've built up over time. In market segments, these are people who have actively been researching or looking for products and services similar to yours. You can also target by demographic, where you can filter by age, gender and parental status as well. Once you've set up your targeting options, there's plenty of benefits of the display network that you'll start to realise. The first being the massive reach and exposure that's possible. Because so many websites on the display network have huge amounts of daily traffic, and that's really why they are on the display network, because they have so much traffic that they can monetize that traffic by allowing Google to display its ads. The display network also allows you to show your ads in front of an audience that have the need but aren't necessarily actively searching. So let's say that you have a product that's perfect for mums between the ages of 25 and 35. Then you can now get in front of that audience with a nice graphical banner ad showing your fantastic product, which can then start generating the interest from your ideal audience, because they may not know that your product actually exists at this time. There is a much cheaper cost per click on the display network, and that's for a few reasons. The first being the pure amount of reach that's available via the display network and the websites that you can appear on. There's less competition. but also because the display network is naturally less targeted than appearing when someone actively searches for the product or service you provide. You'll end up getting quite a lot of impressions and quite a low click-through rate compared to what you get on the search network, and that's completely natural, but balanced with a cheap cost per click, it can often still be very effective. Your adverts can also be displayed in a wider variety of ways, so you can have graphical banners, animated banners, or even standard text adverts as well. An example of how a display network banner can look is shown here. It's just on a news site, and to the right hand side of it there is a banner. So this could quite easily be your banner ad sitting there, and if this is on a very popular news website, it can make your company seem even more credible just by association. Also, to ensure that your ads get approved, you want to make sure that you're following guidelines as closely as possible, but the main reasons for being disapproved are by uploading the wrong sized adverts. So you need to make sure that they fit within the actual dimensions that Google requests. This is because all of the websites that are out there on the Google display network have certain spaces available on their pages, and you must be able to have your ads fit within them perfectly. You also want to ensure that you're not promoting a banned product or service. Most of these are quite obvious, but some businesses in the health sector, for instance, can struggle to get their adverts approved. So do take a look at the display network policies just to make sure that your ads are okay. Also, you want to avoid any trick to click type adverts which are deemed misleading or have spammy techniques, which will quickly get disapproved by Google. So in summary, the display network is a huge network of websites where you can show graphical or text ads. It can also really increase your brand awareness, especially when used alongside a remarketing list, which can make it look like your business is everywhere. And because of the very nature of the display network, there's also the huge potential of the impressions you can get for such a low cost. So if we skip over to the live example now. So here we are over in our Adwords account. To create a display network campaign, we simply go to plus campaign, then display network only. Here we put in the name of our campaign. So now we can set up our geo-targeting. So if we wanted to appear just to people within 50 miles of where we're based, we can go to radius targeting here, 50 miles, and add it. If we select our daily budget, you have your other options available to you down here, particularly ad scheduling. So if you don't want your ads to appear at weekends, for instance, then you can do all of that here. Once you've gone through these, you want to go to save and continue. Here you'll put in the name of your first ad group. So for us, this may be our targeting by keyword. So here I will select display keywords. So I'll put my keywords in here. I can find related keywords. So Google comes up with some suggestions, and I may decide to add some of these. If I do, I would just select the arrow to the right hand side here, but at the moment, for example purposes, I'll just stick with these ones. Now from here I could choose to narrow the targeting further, so I may want to appear on websites that have those keywords but maybe only to people of a certain age, so maybe between 25 and 54 for instance. That's completely random, but it gives you an idea as to how you could further filter it. Google also has this targeting optimization option here, which basically looks for additional customers at your current cost per customer. There's a couple of different methods in terms of how aggressive they are in pursuing new leads, but with all these things I would suggest testing it, use it with and without, and see what works best for you. Once you've got your targeting option selected, you go to save and continue. And at this point you can put in your text ad, or you may decide to have image ads. You simply upload them here, and for us we can just add one of our remarketing banners here just as an example. It loads it in, we give it a name so we know which dimensions it is. We'd send it to the relevant landing page. And display URL. Now remember, this purely is for example purposes, so you'll probably want to be sending your traffic to more inner pages than the home page, but this is just to guide you through the process. You would then create your next ad, or done, then save and continue. But just to take you through the other targeting options, I'm just going to cancel that. And back in the ad groups, if I was to be making another ad group, and this one based on interests, I put that in here. I put in my cost per click, and here I can select affinity audiences, in-market audiences, similar to remarketing lists, and so on. So as it says here, reach consumers in large numbers based on their long-term interests. So we can now search for people with certain interests. So we may want to be targeting business owners. And here we can see a business professionals audience. This gives us an idea as to the demographics of this audience. We could select that one. We could then further narrow our search, for instance, by adding certain topics or display keywords that need to be on those websites. We could go to in-market audiences. So again, we use the search. So typing in Adwords, we can see there's an in-market audience of advertising and marketing services. So we may decide to choose that. Again, with all of these things, I would select them in different ad groups and carve them up and make sure that each ad group is targeting something different, and you can therefore see where your conversions are coming from. But again, this is just to show you what's available to you. You could do similar to your remarketing lists, where you just select your list and create a similar audience. You can also use different targeting methods. So there's topics, placements, and demographics. So topics, this will give us some ideas as to the sort of topics that Google have in their display network that might be relevant to us. So search engine optimization and marketing is quite close. Search engines, yeah, I mean, it's not specifying pay-per-click, but these are topics that Google have categorized and it's worth looking into. Now placements, If we wanted to appear on the Daily Mail website, we simply select Daily Mail, and there we go, we just select it there. You could go Mail on Sunday, etc. You may want to appear on eBay as an example. And here's your different eBays here, ebay.co.uk, great. You may want to appear on Sky Sports. And you can. So again, I wouldn't have all of these websites together, but gives you an idea as to the authoritative websites that are out there that you can place your banners on. You can narrow your targeting again, so you can ensure that you're only on pages within these websites that have certain keywords on or appear to people that are in your demographic range. Last but not least, going over to demographics, we can select by gender, age and parental status. You can narrow your targeting. You can decide whether to use Google's targeting optimization and save and continue. Now remember, with all of these things, you want to be using the one that's going to be most targeted to your audience. You're going to want to split out the different targeting options into different ad groups so you can see which is being most effective, which ones are driving the most clicks or impressions, which ones are spending the most, which ones are getting the conversions. And from that you can then start splitting those out into their own campaigns for the successful ones and pausing the ad groups which don't appear to be effective. As we've been running through those, you've probably been thinking about the potential of some of those targeting options for your business, in which case get your campaign set up and start experimenting and testing.